kind of need to have your role models. That's what I really love about what Judy's doing here. You know, you can see in the actions of the people that with role models that can show you a way forward that maybe not be happening in your own family, that you get a sense of hope from a part of your life that might be quite hopeless. So having this community drop-in centre, it's just a wonderful thing for Ōtara, and I'm so glad it's proving to have graduates like yourself.
This podcast is proudly supported by the Ōtara Network Action Committee, ōNAC, community-owned, community-driven and community-led.
Alright, kia ora everybody, or Ōtara in Auckland to the world. Today we have Warwick, who's going to tell us a little bit about himself, and I'll introduce myself and then you can introduce yourself.
Sure.
So I'm Danielle Tua. I volunteer here down at Accelerating Aotearoa, and I'm a local born and raised here in Ōtara.
Hi, kia ora everybody. I'm Warwick Gray. I work for New Zealand Business Mentors, and I'm here today because I sit on the council of the Computer Technology Industry Association, and we recently gifted some funding towards Accelerating Aotearoa to do all these lovely things that you're doing.
Oh, awesome. So without you guys, we wouldn't have all this amazing technology.
Oh, well, it's certainly one of the providers. I'm sure you have quite a few, but CompTIA is about trying to foster skills in young people to help them be excited about what the future possibilities are with technology and potentially thinking about technology careers. And you may not know, but we're 15,000 jobs short in the IT sector in New Zealand, and obviously second largest export from New Zealand is technology now, so we need a lot of people coming through.
Yeah, well, that's the new world we're living in now, isn't it? Because that's what I was saying when we were downstairs. Those new school whiteboards where you can just touch and swipe, where back in our days we had to actually use a Vivid and write the words down for the songs and things like that. So is this your first time actually coming to our space?
Yeah, it is actually. I think I didn't know about Accelerating Aotearoa till the committee in America told me that you'd been selected for the New Zealand grant.
Oh,
we
wow.
give away one a year, and it obviously has to be to a group that is doing things with technology to help young people learn. So it stood out, I think, from all the other applications, and I'm so thrilled that you got that $10,000, and I'm thrilled that it's going to help the tamariki of Ōtara learn more.
Yeah, so are we. So what do you think of the space of what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I just love the idea of it being a community space. I think communities are the underlying fabric of New Zealand, and they look after and support each other most of the time. And while the needs and ways that people are supported vary a lot, ultimately it's people helping people. You know, people is such an underlining experience for people to get from people like themselves that really understand the problems and the things that they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think with the new technology coming out these days, it's real hard to navigate our way around life when there's some like for me, I'm quite, I don't like to say, but older. I didn't really know how to use the technology now. So even Excel, I'm still struggling with that, and that was around back in my days.
Yeah, well, I'm 65, so I mean, I've seen a lot of things happen in my career, and it's a sort of understood thing that things that you learn when you're young is just the natural order of things. So until you're 30, things that you learn are just natural and everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Any technology that's older than 30 years is something that you can probably get a career in, and anything that's over 40 years is sort of against the whole natural order. So people my age think that AI is just completely not going to ever happen for them. So that's why we want young people coming through, because they are inquisitive, they're interested, and they want to know what it could do to help them advance their life.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You were speaking about AI because we just introduced ourselves to its Pi intelligence.
That's right.
Which is a really good one, because when I talk about AI to people, they're just like, oh yeah, ChatGPT, and I'm like, but there's Pi, which was really amazing for me because it gets to know me as a person and then can relay the answers.
Yeah, I think it's all about giving people the tools that they need at the time to help them do better in whatever endeavours they're trying to do, whether it's writing, whether it's research, whether it's video production or image editing. All those things that have been developing over the last 20 years are now happening much more quickly. And that's really driven by the continuing investment in data centres around the world. So, without the proximity to these data centres, all these very high processing sorts of technologies can't happen quickly. So New Zealand has about 5 new data centres being built at the moment by Microsoft, Amazon and Google, and obviously there are private data centres as well. But because the closeness gives you the speed, it means that all of those questions can happen to get the answers back to people very, very quickly, and makes it feel more natural.
So would that allow more coverage for further and deeper into the country? How when you go up north there's no coverage. Is that what that would help with?
It does help. You still have to be able to get an internet signal to access them. So things like Starlink, Elon Musk's Starlink, and the partnership they're doing with One New Zealand will mean that you won't need to be in line of sight of the transmitter for the signal. So that's going to enable pretty much every part of rural New Zealand to get the signal they need to connect to the things that they want to connect to, and ultimately to be able to engage with these new tools like AI.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really good, because I know some of my family going further up the north, it's good because there is no technology and it's just based on simple things in life, but giving them a bit more technology allows them to just research a lot more about what they're doing and more information about how they can better their lives.
That's right. I think, you learn from the things around you. So when I was growing up, there wasn't any technology like this. I mean, I didn't see a colour television till I was 15 years old. I didn't see my first computer till I was 24. And really it was, I was 30 years old before I even sat down with a graphical user interface PC, and I'm 65 now. So in the 65 years that I've been alive, it's the same length of time between George and Orville Wright flying a plane for the first time and Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. So, in our lifetime we're going to see incredible things, but the mind takes a certain amount of time to process what this new technology is and to be able to apply it to your own lifestyle. So if you've grown up in a small whānau up north in a small valley and you've never seen any of the technology, you can't imagine what's possible. So
yeah.
I love the idea that technology can help everybody on the planet achieve and do more with the technology available to them.
And what got you so interested in technology itself and IT sector?
Yeah, well, I was telling Judy earlier today that I originally trained as a nurse at Manukau Polytech, just across the road. And when I finished my training, I went overseas with my wife, who's also a nurse. And we travelled for 3 years overseas. And then when I came back home, I didn't have a car, and my sister-in-law said, why stay a nurse? You could get a job as a pharmaceutical sales rep and you'll get a car. And I was like, did you say car? So I did. I got a job in pharmaceutical sales, which is considered to be quite difficult in terms of a selling job, because you've kind of got to go and knock on the door of a medical centre and ask a doctor to let you see them, and they don't usually do that very easily. So it was considered to be quite difficult. But my brother was an accountant, and he was starting to see a shift from Lotus 123, which was a DOS-based accounting system or spreadsheet, to Excel. So he realised the power and the possibilities that things like Excel could do, and he went to a trade show in North America and saw the beginnings of what was desktop publishing at the time, which is products like PageMaker, CorelDRAW, Photoshop and Adobe Acrobat. And thought that they would really serve New Zealand well. So we started a company up together that brought in all of this new innovative software. It was before Premiere, video editing, and before Photoshop, but it basically was a transition from old traditional fields like photolithography, the traditional typesetting, where for the last 200 years we've used typesetting as a way to produce newspapers, and all of the type would sit in trays and the typesetters would pull out all the letters and ink would run over them, and they have the roller mills producing newspapers. And so we were knocking on doors and saying to people, you don't need any of that anymore, you can do it on a computer like this. And of course people were like, whoa, that's, you're going to destroy all of this hundreds of years of training and trade training and things like that. So, we were just so busy thinking about the future and the possibilities. We didn't really think so much about the trades and, older people with years of experience in these old-fashioned fields. But technology doesn't wait for anyone.
No.
So as soon as it's good,
It's
there's
out
always
there.
going to be somebody that
Yeah.
wants to do it and somebody to show you how to do something. So I love that. You know, people share what they know, and technology is an enabler, and we all enable each other. Yeah.
Cool. Well, what a career change for you.
It is, yeah.
To be going from nursing to where you are now.
Yes, it is. I've fallen in love with brand and marketing, and sort of helping people make very simple mission statements come to life inside an organisation. So when I first started in IT, Microsoft's big, hairy, audacious goal was to get a computer on every desk. And as I've said, you know, in the beginning it was all mainframe. So the idea that we would have done that was quite galvanising, because you're like, yeah, I can see a time in the future when everybody might have a computer. I mean, it seemed ridiculous in 1980, but it's real now. And that's their new mission, is to help everybody on the planet achieve and do more. And so, you know, these are galvanising ideas that help people believe, and, you know, if you have belief, you can get capability, and it's exciting. So we work with a number of different companies and brands and talk about the way that you can infuse that mission statement across everybody, just like you do here at Accelerating Aotearoa, where everybody is engaged, everybody's helping each other. And, you know, I talk about things like marketing is what you see in advertising,
Yeah.
sales is what you hear from somebody trying to pitch you something, but a brand is what makes you feel. And so, you know, we really want to try and have people feel the story, because you and, you know, people your age, young people, have become what we call conscious consumers, meaning that they're really looking for the story behind the brand of the things they buy.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different world now.
Because there are those conspiracy theories that these 4G networks and 5G networks are destroying our country by putting all these power poles up. Are you able to explain those and kill that conspiracy theory, especially for our young ones, because we just believe what we see, and that's where that marketing strategies come into us, and we're believing all of these things, and then our older generation are telling us, no, don't use those, and turn everything off and switch the powers, and all of that type of thing.
Yeah.
You ever heard that rumour about when those towers started coming out?
You know, there are certainly well-known problems with high power lines. You know, they do emit signals and things, and they can be problematic with other electronics, but there's yet to be proven that there's any close link between wireless devices and physical damage, and there's no reason to be afraid. I mean, if there was any evidence, we'd have seen it more tangibly now. So we can't really know what's going on in the world with all of the wireless devices, and I mean, but there are, you know, 26 billion devices on the planet now, and that's 3 for every person on the planet. So if there was going to be any effect of that, I think we'd have seen signs by now.
All right, you heard it here first, you guys. So don't be afraid. Just get out there, use your phone, get all the information you can off it. And
yeah, we talk about it being connecting you to the things that matter most. So I think for Ōtara in particular, you know, you've got this lovely opportunity to help people find things that they like outside of what's going on around them, and connecting them to things that matter means they've got to know what they care about. So technology is a window to a life that they may not be having. So I'm really pleased that you've got this place here that people can come, engage, learn, and, you know, grow outside of what they might have thought was possible in the world they're in.
yeah, me too. I'm really enjoying from when I started here. I actually started in the stream team at the back amongst the trees, and then found my way inside and couldn't leave. Haven't left ever since.
I'm not surprised.
But learning everything every day.
Yes,
something new, and the technology. I found we can just watch movies sitting in the corner, putting headphones on. I really enjoy that about this new technology that's come up.
Oh, good.
And not having to press the button 1, 2, 3, 5 times to get the letter C and the letter A to send a message. You can kind of just talk to your phone and say, hey Siri, call.
Yeah, there's some incredible things going on in the world with what AI is able to do for people that are somewhat disadvantaged. So I watched a video this week, and it was a blind man that had his phone pointing out the window of a cab, and the camera was seeing all the names of the shops and turning it into natural language that he could hear, because the power of the technology is getting so vast that he could almost enjoy driving to where he was going in his taxi, and he'd hold his phone over his children's artwork and it would say, oh, that's a drawing of a dragon and it says love you daddy underneath. So nobody really needs to be disadvantaged anymore, and being able to engage with technology and connect them to the things that matter is what's so great. So for shopping, he can walk down shopping aisles and he could hold a product up and put his camera against it and would say that's a can of beans.
Cool.
So all these things that deaf and blind people have had to deal with are beginning to go away, and that's all because of the power of the technology we've got before us.
Yeah, and that's something that we need here in Ōtara, because, maybe not very many sight impairment, but a lot of non-English speakers, a lot of Pacific Islanders that
right.
have only come over from the Pacific Islands and can't really pick up the English. So that'll be a good thing to give to our grandparents and things like that when they're going shopping, and how they can translate instead of taking the young ones with them, because I find most times here in Auckland we have a grandparent and a younger child who's kind of navigating them around New Zealand.
That's right.
So these are some cool technologies. And
New Zealand is a hotbed of technology enablement. So we've got thousands of small IT companies that are developing here in New Zealand, and it's our second biggest export tech to other countries, and that number 8 fencing wire approach that New Zealanders have means they're always looking to solve problems with technology and make a product out of it. And obviously with your River app as an example of connecting your community, it's enabling people to stay close to people that matter. The loneliness can go away a little bit. They can go into museums around the world. They could go on cruises looking at video from things like that. So the way that it does that is by having people that are innovative and thinking like that. We have the Māori dictionary now for Microsoft products that was developed by a push of people in New Zealand, and PB Tech recently released a Māori keyboard that you can buy at PB Tech if you want to type in Māori language with all the macrons. So we're a country that likes to make change happen, and change happen fast.
Yeah, and not trying to pull away from the country itself and the culture that we have here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's amazing.
Celebrating everybody's culture. So it is a leveler for everybody, but it's also that enabler, and being able to support our dispossessed and less thoughtful people that haven't had these opportunities. You're in a great position to help them with that change.
Cool. Wow, that's a lot of information. Thanks so much. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, we have Vinny and Judy spying from the back, and we'll give them a chance to answer some questions while I'm just sitting here blowing off my questions.
Sure, no problem.
Guess the floor is open.
Thank you. From the audience. So, wondering, Warwick, having sort of seen a little bit about who we are, what are some of the ways that we could more effectively partner with industry? Because, as you can see, we're dirt poor.
Yeah.
We're not sexy enough for whatever reason. We're just doing what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think some of it's to do with the changes that are going in the world in terms of people are becoming more conscious about their decisions. They're becoming more aware of the world that they live in and not so selfish. And I think building communities is what we are working towards, with the news changing, with obviously the implosion of news channels. Traditionally, we have to think outside of the traditional way of marketing. So, the old marketing playbook is quite broken. Young people don't watch analog TV. They certainly don't watch the news that way. And building communities around the goals and objectives of your organisation is something we try to do with everything we do that's new, and creating customer advocacy, if you like, which is where we have our clients talk about it to others and build the marketing engine and things like that out from the community that you're in. So that's helping people understand how they can broadcast through whichever social network or ways they choose to engage with people in their own networks, socially and digitally, as opposed to reading a newspaper, placing ads. All of that's gone. I mean, it's clearly happening, and it's a matter of just adopting that way of getting some key messages that everybody can use to share out. From the outside in, it's a slightly different thing where, you know, you're forced to compete with so many other competing forces and personalities and organisations across the country. We've just come out of or still in a recession. We've just been through COVID. It's a particularly tough time for everybody. So there isn't really anything new that you could do other than try and make sure your stories get told. And by doing these podcasts, you know, that's certainly one way to share and have your people understand what they can do to participate in what your goals are.
Because the nurses now, sometimes we don't need to go to the GP. We can just book an appointment and we can call them on the video now, and they can tell us.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, with the Māori health, it's sort of that thing of people can't get to a doctor or they can't afford to go to a doctor, whether it's city in Ōtara or in any rural part of New Zealand. So Cecilia Robinson from My Food Bag has started a new company called Tend, and it's really only people like that can transform an industry that needs to be changed, and that's basically telehealth, so that anybody that can get a connection could make an appointment with a Tend doctor and not have to go to the medical centre that in the far north might be miles and miles away.
Yeah,
so,
especially when most of our elders are too shy to go and, you know, I'm all right, I'll just tough it out. So that's really cool. I really like that.
It's certainly true around general examinations. You know, prostate cancer, cervical cancers are often not treated early enough, and some of these statistics we hear about Māori health are just really to do with the lack of education and knowledge of when and what they need to do. So I think, you know, at a local level, the system hasn't worked particularly well, and I'm hoping that digitally, with some of these new technologies and this ability to get information out to a community, might encourage people to take more care of their bodies and, you know, eat better, and obviously seek some advice and guidance when they think they might need it from someone they trust.
Yeah, because that's what we need here, eh? Oh, sorry, your turn.
Another question from the board. I was just thinking about, so we're talking about telehealth, say, which is a conceptually wonderful way for people in remote people for whatever reason wanting to engage with health professionals. And so 10 years ago, Lance O'Sullivan launched iMoko.
He did, yes.
He's a man from beloved North. What's the difference between what he did with iMoko and what Cecilia's been doing more recently?
I think it's just trying to give people access to the things that can be resolved quite quickly. You know, people often go to the doctor for a lot of the wrong reasons and don't really need to make that huge effort. So to reduce the pressure on all the different services is fast access to something to get a quick resolution that can be easily diagnosed over a call. It gets specialists available to be seen, so instead of having to wait, you know, a lot longer to get seen by a specialist, because in whangarei they do a clinic in Kirikiri, for example, you know, once a month, it's to give them access to that quicker.
But that's what Lance was doing. Not only the diagnosis, remote diagnosis, but also getting medication remotely back out to people. I'm just fascinated because, you know, we're talking about people trusted third parties and
I think
I'm fascinated from a marketing perspective about what Cecilia did differently, which she probably had a lot more cash behind her.
Well, they still do traditional medical centres as well, but there is the tele service on top of that, and it's really trying to consolidate it into a way that's financially viable, because so many medical practices are too busy and they can't make enough money to keep going, and then they fall over, and then it's sort of back to square one. So it's also about having your records available anywhere, so that if you happen to be overseas, you can call your Tend doctor, and you know the records are all kept there centrally. So, you know, a friend of mine is a public health delivery service manager for Northland, Kaio and Whangaroa, and you know they still have fundamental issues around the country in the trust factor, and I think that's probably the biggest thing to try and deal with, is who do they trust to get the health information. Because as Danielle just said, you know, if they think that there's going to be bad juju coming from wireless devices. There's some fundamental cultural issues.
We don't want it in front of us.
We've got to resolve, especially when it comes to health, because that's one of the biggest issues we have as a country to face.
Yeah, and it's the conspiracies, that they just see a tower and they're like, oh my God, it's going to give me this, and then whatever they're reading online, which is pretty sad and it's unfortunate, but it is happening, and we're hoping that we can get all of this vast technology out to the whole of New Zealand, because we all deserve it and we all need it.
Absolutely. I think in my BMNZ role, or my business mentors role, we work closely with iwi around the country from a business perspective. So the idea is to try and match a startup or a female business or a Māori-led business to get access to a business person. And it's sort of similar with health. You're trying to give them access to these resources that might give them more confidence, give them some trust, and give them some hope, and give them some opportunity.
Yeah. And
those are the 4 things I try and wrap around this, because I think we've done like 120 mentorships for iwi Ngāi Tahu, and they're all growing out into becoming smaller businesses that grow bigger, that then support the environment and the hapu that they're in, and also the town and the region. And so, this is all being developed because technology is enabling so much faster connectivity and things like that. So, whether it's growing a business, looking after your health, or looking after your whānau, there is a way that technology can drive all that.
Yes, it starts from, just setting a business plan to begin with, and nobody wants to hand that to you on a piece of paper.
You kind of need to have your role models. That's what I really love about what Judy's doing here. You can see in the actions of the people that with role models that can show you a way forward that maybe not be happening in your own family, that you get a sense of hope from a part of your life that might be quite hopeless. So having this community drop-in centre is just a wonderful thing for Ōtara, and I'm so glad it's proving to have graduates like yourself.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to have met you today.
Thank you.
And it's nice to see someone who believes in us, and that just can trust that we're going to do something for the community and share this information out to the world. So
that's true. So just on my final note, I'd always say, I'm 65 this year. I'm still dreaming about a society that's just and fair, and that really people have to really believe that they're not old until they've got more regrets than they have dreams. So to all the viewers out there, keep on dreaming, and all the very best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Warwick.
Thank you.